Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the General Hospital recap for July 15th through 19th, 2024. Oh, I never know how to transition out of that because it's like, yeah, it was a week. So for Port Charles Pipeline, hauling myself out, I accidentally, when we started the Port Charles 411, I said, welcome to the Port Charles Pipeline about Lila, part 10.
Oh.
But yeah. And we forgot to mention her awards. So in addition to receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award the week after she passed, she also won Soap Opera Digest's award for Favorite Mature Actress in 1982. Nice. In 1983, she won Favorite Actress in a Mature Role.
Okay.
I want to know what mature role meant. In 1985, she was a nominee for Outstanding Actress in a Mature Role. I love how this name changes every year, too.
Yes.
And then 1988, she won Outstanding Supporting Actress, apparently not in a mature role. And then we received one email from Chandra. Hi, ladies. We have had severe storms here the past couple days, so I'm just listening to Sunday's podcast. I have some thought on Portia and Max's reaction to Heather's case being reopened. It's as if the writers put all the victim families' reactions on Portia and Mac. If you think about the canvas, we never saw Rory's family. They have no voice. Oz Haggerty, we don't even know if he had a family. Liesel's anger would surpass Portia's, but she has not been seen on screen for a long time. We know Gladys has been shipped off and probably doesn't know what's going on. I can imagine that Sasha, Carly, Joss, and Sunny would be outraged. Diane knows, but she's on thin ice because of her getting Franco's convictions overturned. Mac has been witness to Heather's looniness for decades. His reaction didn't surprise me one bit, especially due to what happened on Spoon Island. We'll see if the new writers handle the storyline. I wouldn't mind if it disappeared. Okay, off to finish listening. See you at the pier. P.S. I don't know how often you're on Instagram, but I thought you would get a kick out of this photo. And it is a picture of Finola Hughes and Anders Hooves hanging out. So that is Anna and Cesar. I actually did see that one the other day.
I did too. And I was like, I double took.
I meant to send it to my husband. So she was in Amsterdam. Kelly Monaco was just in Amsterdam hanging out with Tony Geary.
Oh.
And Finola was hanging out with Anders in Amsterdam.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess everyone's just hanging out in Amsterdam right now.
They should be doing some type of reunion something there. Come on. They could have taken the cameras with them. Been like, hey,
I know.
Luke, how you feel about all this stuff going on?
He is probably not even paying attention. I mean, we know that he did pay attention when Jackie Zeman passed away and when Sonia Eddy passed away.
Yeah.
Like he had, but he's just over there living life.
Yeah, must be nice. Just
I'll
go.
He worked really hard for that for a long time. He earned it, even though we weren't done with him. You know, it's going to be 9 years this week since he's been gone.
Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. I know.
Mm-mm.
Anywho, so we're kind of doing I guess it's not really that different, but we are going to do a 411 about Richard Simmons this week because he portrayed himself on the show as himself, but in a different storyline, which unfortunately we weren't able to really find his storyline from like the 70s and the 80s. It was just, they did this, they did this. But there's a couple clips that you can find on YouTube that you could see it was fun. But then when he came back in 2013, there was it was only like one day, but there's a lot of details in that one day.
Right. Everyone was so excited.
I know. So that's it for that. Do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. So this week's Hulu headlines: Willow confides in Nina because she forgot that she had a friend in Sasha. Drew is in the hot seat. Jason makes Jake an offer. Brennan receives a mysterious visit.
Was that mysterious?
I know. Like 2 people visit him. And Anna hits pay dirt On Tuesday, Sonny pays a visit to Nina. Ava tries to sway John. Lois presents Gio with an opportunity. Anna must make a tough decision. Willow's taken aback. On Wednesday, Natalia voices her remorse. Nina shares her insight with Maxie. Gio opens up to Jocelyn. Jason and John have words. Anna is tempted. On Thursday, Carly and Jason make a trip to the footbridge and have the same conversation 5 times. Cody opens up. Cody opens up to Tracy. Chase and Dex bond. Nina issues an apology. Natalia and Sonny pitch an idea to Brook Lynn. And then on Friday, Trina wrestles with her grief. Sasha encourages Cody. Laura and Dante have an emotional encounter. Tracy is charmed by Gio. And Carly and Jason debate their next move. Where do you want to start?
I actually was surprised and liked the twist of the writers having Willow go to Nina. I never, like we talked about it last week, I was like, Nina's going to find out. She's going to blackmail so-and-so. This is going to be some horrible, horrible thing. Never in a million years imagined that Willow was going to go to her and have this be their first mother-daughter conversation.
I just had a problem with the way it was presented. She's like, this is the kind of thing that a girl needs to talk to her mom or your sister, and I don't have either. You have Sasha. Like, you have an amazing relationship with Sasha. Like, come on. You definitely could have gone to Sasha, and this is definitely girlfriend talk.
Right.
You know, for her to suddenly see Nina as a maternal figure because of this, I agree. I like that she went to her period. Like, it was an interesting, not expecting it, but the lead up to it, I mean, it basically came out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, it's not like we even saw them. If we'd seen Willow at least showing interest in her family history, where she came from, about Nina's past, you know, things like that, showing her building that slight relationship.
Right.
But she went from barely tolerating her to, okay, I guess we can have her around, to mommy. Like, no.
Right. I agree. They should have showed it building up a little bit more, even just basic stuff. Like, I feel like whether it's your mom, no matter who it is, if you're just starting out a relationship, you're starting with the small things that like don't really matter. Which preschool do you think that we should apply to get Amelia into? There's this option and this option, blah, 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 kind of stuff with Nina. Not, oh my God, I kissed my friend / Michael's uncle / employer.
My could have been father-in-law, my husband's uncle, and my mother-in-law's ex-boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah. You just mentioned something. I do think Willow would be wise to not bring up any questions about decisions with the kids, because then Nina could be not pushed. I feel like she'd be like, well, I don't know. I didn't get the chance to raise you guys. And then that just kind of goes down that. And for that, I would feel bad for Nina because that wasn't her decision. You know, she truly was robbed of being able to raise them. But you're right. You know, something like, oh, I want to surprise Michael with, you know, a nice night out or something. Is there a restaurant that you may have heard of that you think would be good to try? You know, something trivial, but kind of going to her for like the little bit of input. Or, hey, I can't decide which dress to wear. Would you mind? Or, you know, I guess I can't talk about Drew's campaign right now. Or even if that had been how it came out. Hey, you know, because we're so connected with Drew, I'm going to have to go dress shopping for some of these photo ops. Would you mind helping me put together? I mean, Willow always looks great, so I don't think she has a problem with that. But, you know, and then have them talking about something about Drew and, you know, Nina maybe doing the little hint of something's going on with her and Drew, but then Willow picking up on it, thinking that Nina knows something happened between her and Drew.
Right.
And then having Willow break down. But I didn't like Nina's advice. Especially for Willow. It
wasn't motherly advice. It was jealous girlfriend advice.
And it was deceiving and dishonesty and lying, which is dishonesty, but they are two different things. And I mean, she's encouraging her to make sure that Willow or Michael absolutely won't trust her again once he finds out. And I don't think that's her intention. I agree. I think that it's more of I want to be able to hold this over Drew.
Yep.
And I mean, I really don't think that she said it in a way to be vindictive for Willow. I think that she was seeing how she could use it for Drew. But
Absolutely.
it's going after everything that they've gone through between the stuff with Chase and Sasha, the leukemia and everything. She has to understand. And if it truly was a mistake, then you go tell the person.
Right. I feel like obviously it's a big deal because it is cheating, but at the same time, like they stopped it. They had a conversation about it. They swore it wasn't going to happen again, blah, blah, blah. Going to Michael is the right decision to make sure that it doesn't happen again and to continue doing what she needs to do for her marriage. If he is going to divorce her over one kiss after everything that they've been through, then they weren't really meant to be together to begin with.
And I do wonder how much of it, though, was she brought up, yeah, but Drew said that if things were different, there might have been something with us.
Right.
For her to say that is kind of
I did love that every time anyone talked about it, that they threw in the fact that there was fireworks. I was laughing every single time. They're like, it was just this moment, blah, 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 because there was fireworks. And then Drew was talking about it and he was like, man, just caught up in the moment because there was fireworks.
I do understand certain moments triggering or igniting, but I don't feel like it's every single time you see a firework. Suddenly you feel the need to kiss someone.
I've never accidentally kissed someone because of a firework.
Exactly. No one needs all this information, but also if you're driving down the street and you see fireworks, you don't suddenly pull over and, it's,
I don't know, the way that Drew and Willow were talking about it, perhaps so. And even Nina was like, it wasn't really your fault. You got caught up in the moment because there were fireworks.
I know. That was crazy. I don't know. And then as soon as Willow left, Nina called Drew and was like, get your butt down here. Because then the whole time that Willow's having this conversation with Drew, or Nina, Drew and Michael are discussing when he's on the campaign trail, Michael's going to be back as CEO. Is he going to be able to handle it? And Michael's like, I might not like her as a person, but she is a great editor-in-chief. Willow's starting to make some progress with her, so I'm not going to put anything in between them. And then he continues to praise Drew on all the amazing things that he's done for Willow and how much she adores him. And no one's going to be a bigger supporter than his wife.
Yep.
But then Nina calls Drew and he's like, I will get to you when I get to you. And she's like, no, you are going to get down here now. He comes down and is like, do you forget who your boss is? And she punches him in the face. And I thought it was great.
Yep.
Okay. I liked Nina this week.
It was definitely her most tolerable week. I would give her that.
She wasn't whiny. Okay. Until we get to the thing with Maxie, where she did her thing of Maxie just told you a whole bunch of stuff and you ignored it all and then started talking about your thing. But that's a whole other thing. And it's not like, okay, Maxie did kind of just barge in and start talking about stuff. So I can see if she was in the middle of a thought continuing it. But I feel like Maxie would be at least, I'm sorry, what were you just doing something, but
Right.
But so she punches him and yells at him for kissing her daughter. And then basically reiterates a lot of the stuff that Michael said, where Willow really looks up to you. How would she feel if she knew you were sleeping with her mother? And
he should have been like, I don't know that she'd care that much because she didn't care that I had slept with her mother-in-law. So,
well, and then he says something about, if you were going to tell her, you should have done it. And when you had the chance, as she was telling you about the kiss, but now you've kind of lost that opportunity. So,
he's not wrong.
No, but you see, I kind of do see Nina's side of it, though. If your child comes to you absolutely devastated, freaking out, my marriage is over, everything, are you going to give them one more thing to devastate them? Especially with how worked up Willow was. It wasn't like she was just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, she was hysterically crying, devastated.
Right.
Are you going to be like, oh, I have some more to add to that. Here's a little gasoline to your fire.
No, definitely not. And especially with it being the first time that Willow's coming to her about anything so important. She doesn't want to make it worse. But I do feel like, unfortunately, he's right. If she tries to bring it up later, Willow's not going to see it that way and be like, why wouldn't you have given me all the information at once?
Well, why didn't Drew tell her? And he's had more of an opportunity. He had the opportunity first. They've had way too many conversations about this. And Drew should have told her. He does have ownership in the Willow being, and I put it on him first.
Oh, I agree, but somehow men are never held responsible for that type of stuff.
No. And then he starts getting all flirty and is like, well, we've made progress from our hatred of each other. And, I'm just curious, where's this going to continue?
Yeah.
Dude, get out of your pants. No, keep your pants on. Quit thinking with them.
I was happy that Nina didn't turn back into that typical, now we've had a fight, so I have to rip your clothes off, because if that was how that ended, I was going to be disgusted.
But she got a phone call, didn't she? So that's what interrupted them, because I thought that the look in her eye was kind of like falling for, it's like what you see in the cartoons where they're slinging the watch, and like getting hypnotized. That's the word I'm looking for. I forgot the word for wagon earlier. So yeah. I go out to Erica and I was like, what's that thing with wheels that you put wagon? But I seriously sat here for probably 5 minutes and I was just like, what that? It probably wasn't actually 5 minutes, but felt like it. Anyway. But then I guess Drew and Willow did not pass each other in the elevator because she didn't see him go down to Crimson and she went up to barge into his room, his office, and there's Michael.
Yep.
But he didn't even ask her, what have you been thinking about?
Right.
It obviously seemed like something troublesome. So.
Right. And obviously directed at Drew because that's whose office it was. So he never thought to say like, oh, did you think of something wrong with the campaign or some new idea that's, what you originally said isn't going to work? Something. Instead, she was just like, oh, Michael, I love you so much. I'm so grateful for our family and everything we have.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go. And then she goes to Sonny.
Right. What was that about?
Because I don't know. I thought that was probably, I'm sorry. Like, I feel like I'm complaining a lot already. Like, I felt like that was one of the dumbest things. She's like, well, if I buried the hatchet with Nina and Nina was able to bury the hatchet with Drew. Well, no, that's not where the hatchet was. The hatchet was with Sonny and Nina. They kept talking about the hatchet.
Yes.
But, she's like, I just came here to let you know. I just talked to Nina like my mom. And, I really see how much Michael's hurting. So you guys now need to reconnect. No, that's right. Like she was able to work towards forgiving and working on her relationship with Nina because Drew was able to.
Right.
So she thinks now Sonny should automatically, it has nothing. Right.
Oh, sorry. It was just so
because
frustrating.
One person was able to do something doesn't mean all. Okay, yes, I do agree that Sonny should not be, I understand what she is saying, but Michael was trying to take him down.
Right. And it would have been different had they ran into each other at Bobby's and she'd been like, right. Can I sit down with you for just a minute? Listen, I just had this conversation, yesterday or whatever. And it just made me think maybe reconciliation is possible for you and Michael, or not you and Nina as far as getting back together, but burying the hatchet, as that was the key sentence this week.
Seriously.
And something like that happen, or her to have the kids out and for one of the kids to run up and be like, oh, grandpa, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there you go. That would make sense. But for her to just show up at his house and be like, hey, I'm making up with everyone, so you should too. It's just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
And then Sonny took that advice and went to Nina and is like, I just wanted to bury the hatchet. And she's like, why? I could never be mad at you. Everything was my fault.
Well, okay. So did he say that Willow came to me? Did he tell her that?
No, I don't think so.
So he's just basically doing the same thing though that he was doing with Carly and Alexis and getting his exes on his side.
Right.
So I don't even think that was necessarily motivated by Willow's conversation. It was probably just something on his to-do list for the day. And
True. He needs all his exes on his side. And she was like, oh, I'll pretend like I'm going to go and talk all kind of crap on you. And then when I get on the stand, I'm going to say how no one could love their children more than you do and how those girls adore you and blah, 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 blah. And then he was like, are you trying to make me fall in love with you again? And I was like, oh, come on. That was like the cringiest sentence out of the entire week.
And then she says something about how their relationship was built on a mirage named Mike. No, honey, if maybe when you came back to Port Charles and 3 months later you had broken up, you could say that. Right. You guys got married. Mm-hmm. You guys were dead set that Sonny and Nina loved each other.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah, they said something else about Mike, and she was like, but he had good taste in women. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to make me puke. Just stop.
Because then they talked about Ava too. Well, and that was the thing that, he had gone to, because when Willow was at the penthouse, Diane's assistant called, or paralegal called, because I guess Sonny had been trying to reach Diane, and he started getting so mad that Diane was not available and was like, she should be available. Doesn't she know the retainer I pay for her? And then he tells Willow that Ava is going after full custody of Avery.
Right.
And then I think that's when he went to Nina, because maybe he actually forgot, oh shoot, I should probably check on Nina and see. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
But I couldn't tell if Willow thought, oh, geez, something's off with Sonny right now because of the way that he was acting about Diane.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, well, she is busy,
But then he seemed perfectly fine when he was with Nina.
Right. He wasn't manic.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what they're trying to do with him.
No, I don't think they know either.
True. Well, I thought now that maybe all the pikeman stuff was being resolved, that he would go back to getting his regular dose. But then last week, Ava said to the pharmacist, no, you definitely have to drop down to 0. So we're just going to keep him at 0 forever? I don't understand.
I don't know. And pikeman's not over for Sonny, though.
Right.
Because now John is... so Ava invites John over to talk, and we know she's trying to bait him, right? And she's all, oh, woe is me, poor me, I'm so scared of Sonny. He puts a recorder on the table, and she's like, I can't do that, because what if Sonny somehow finds out, he'll have no choice but to basically kill me. She didn't say that, but that was definitely implied. She brought up again, how, what did she say? She said something about Anna. She brought up Anna, and about, like, what do you know about Anna's, or he asked, what do you know about Anna's relationship? That's right, because he still thinks that she's connected to,
right,
because the emails. And Ava just said, I know they're connected through Robin and your brother.
Right.
And he asks for information about the mob, and he's like, you were in the warehouse. You looked perfectly fine being there. Like, what's the deal?
Right. You were living with Sonny.
And she's not entirely wrong that she did keep out of the mob stuff when Julian was in charge. And Julian did try to keep her out of it as best he could. But she knew more than she's letting on. But she wasn't wrong also playing the sympathy, where she said, I did not participate in it because I was raising my daughter, Kiki, who's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's when she said that she was living with Sonny because she didn't have any other options, basically, like she was being forced to, because she's one of Sonny's baby mamas. And so when that child is in danger, the mom must live with him, I guess.
Right. But whenever she was talking about Kiki, she was like, I'm sure you understand my loss because of Karen and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I'm not saying that you're not upset whenever your ex dies, but they weren't together for all that time.
Right.
So, no, it's not the same. Like, you don't get to claim the same amount of sadness over an ex that you cheated on and blew up your relationship with as if it was your child. Like, that's not the same. I'm sorry. For Ava to even put it that way, like, that was insulting to Kiki.
I really don't know, because you're right. Jagger is the one who messed up their marriage, but he probably also has the added layer of regret in addition to his grief.
True, but I
don't know. And I really hope that I never have to experience to tell if there's a difference.
True. But I hope that I feel like Ava was obviously just reaching to try to get him to be on her side. And that was
working for the FBI not picking up on that.
Right. That was the best part of the week whenever he ended up talking to Jason and was like, and what about poor Ava? And he was like, Ava Jerome? Are we talking about the same person? Please do not tell me you're dumb enough to be getting manipulated by her.
Right. And then his boss called. So we still don't know who the boss is, right?
Right.
But so his boss calls and I guess is giving him a hard time about why did you buy champagne? And he's like, it's for a informant, or not an informant, a witness or a source that I'm grooming.
Right.
And I'm sorry, you can buy a bottle of champagne. I don't think you necessarily have to expense that, right? I mean,
you would think that he made enough money to cover it, but
well, and also, do you want to have it questioned if you got them intoxicated?
Right.
You know, questionable. Like, when did this information come out? Were they drunk? You know, who gave them the alcohol? Oh, you got them drunk? Okay, sure.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
I don't know. But yeah, so then I guess before we get into Jason, we have to get into all the other stuff.
Go ahead.
I'm so sad. If he's leaving, so Anna wakes up at Valentine's and he's all lovey and he's like, you should stay home and we'll go boating or something. And she's like, yeah, I kind of have like a government job. I can't really do that. Like I have to be in the office or on call, whatever. And Charlotte came home early, which I thought it was weird that he didn't even mention, hey, by the way, next week Charlotte's coming home. So whatever this is, like, we're going to have to figure out.
Right.
You know, but so he was surprised to see her and she's talking like she's 50 now. Well, maybe not 50, maybe. I mean, she matured, obviously, because some kids were refugees and lost everything because of their home country being attacked. And, you know, some of them lost families, their whole family. And she woke up to how much she was taking advantage of her situation and how, you know, thankful she is to have her family. And she knew that Anna was not bad, but Uncle Victor really got it in her head that she was, but Anna was never anything but nice to her. And she knows how happy that her dad is with Anna. So like, why would he be so happy with someone that is a horrible person? She apologizes to Anna. And I loved Anna's response when she was like, honey, I shot you.
Right.
Like, I think we're even here. But then Valentine reminded Anna, I think Charlotte really needs to say this, you know, and I don't think that Anna was trying to stop her from whatever it was that she needed to say, but she kind of was, but not in a,
it's just trying
not
to make
in a
it
dismissive
easier.
way. Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't need to dredge up all this. You're sorry. I'm sorry. Let's move forward. But it was nice to hear Charlotte's reasonings of how she finally came to this.
And then she said that she's a Cassadine and Cassadines are bad or they die trying to be good. But they also die being bad. So I'm not sure where that came from. So then Anna left because she had found his phone while he was going to make her a latte. That's right. And he didn't have milk. But then after Anna left, he asked Charlotte if he wanted her to make her scrambled eggs. And you need milk. So there's some magical milk. Do you not need the same amount of milk? I feel like maybe you would for scrambled eggs and a latte. But for scrambled eggs, here, how much milk?
Oh, geez, Louise.
How much milk for latte? 3 to 7 ounces. Okay. Scrambled eggs. I guess it's a couple tablespoons. But still, he said he was out. But he said he was out of milk. Okay, this one says a 1/4 cup of milk for 4 eggs. And that is 2 ounces.
So that's what he could have meant. I don't have enough milk.
He measured out his milk.
He did.
Like,
he had eyeball.
Like, I have exactly.
That's not enough for a latte, and he was probably going to make himself a latte too. So that's not enough for 2 lattes.
But he does have real maple syrup too.
Are you fantasizing about him making you breakfast?
I mean, JD makes really good scrambled eggs, so that's nice. He and Valentine have something in common.
There you go.
Yay! I got my Valentine. He can start playing piano and sing to me. and dance with me and be all romantic. Just not be a super spy.
Right. You want him to be head of pikemen? You would not be happy with that.
No. So then Anna goes to Jason and is like, hey, I got everything, but you have to give me 2 more hours. And she gave him the phone. I mean, they argued and she was like, I cannot do this to Charlotte. I cannot take away her only parent. And he's like, yeah, but she still has Laura, she still has Dante. But she's like, I wasn't there for Robin. I can't and she should have been like, how much that messed up Robin. I wasn't there for her.
But his rebuttal was completely correct also. I've already been away from my kids for all these years because of the stuff that John's trying to find, and now we have the answer. I just want it done and over with.
Exactly. No, they were both they were both right, and so she asks for 2 hours and she gives him the phone, I guess, as collateral for that. And so she runs back to Valentin and tells him that she turned him into the FBI as pikeman, and so he needs to call Charlotte and run. I still don't understand the whole reasoning.
I didn't understand, that at all. Like, first she's checking on him, and that was nice. Like, you have everything you need, you have extra passports, you have money, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he says, yeah, I'll be okay. And she's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. You would have always been okay. Why did you need to join pikemen? And he says, for you, and gives this explanation of people in and out of the business. And so then he had to go ahead and take over. I still don't understand how that was for her.
He said it was because of her.
Because of her. Yeah.
She busted Brennan. And so therefore he was next in line somehow.
And you couldn't say no thanks?
And he said that he liked the money. Although it was. Okay, so here's the other thing. If it was who was in charge of the WSB back in the 80s, wasn't that Sean Donnelly?
Yes.
So, because he said he's been with pikemen since the beginning. And in the beginning, they were working with the head of the WSB, right? And I mean, how I feel like I'm understanding is that this has been a long time, basically as long as Anna and Valentin have known each other. Are you getting the same impression?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So it's not just been like a new... Well, no, because... Okay, so maybe it is a newer thing because... Or did he say because they had broken up, and so basically he needed a new hobby? Because then he said the head of the WSB, and that was Brennan.
Right. That was
okay,
Brennan.
So maybe it is a newer thing. And because he had been around... Yeah, I don't know. I would have found it so much easier to... If he had pulled a Jason and was like, they wanted to do something to you, so I had to do this,
right. Right. He never said that they threatened her or Charlotte or Robin or anyone like that. So how could you not have just said no thank you?
But wait, when did all that stuff, because remember her coming out as a double agent had to do with that guy leaving the WSB, right? And wasn't that supposed to have been a long time ago?
Yeah, that was, because that was the whole thing, was it was going to be published, and she was like, oh no one's ever going to look at me the same. Right. And everyone was like, yeah, that was pretty crappy what you did, but that was 20 years ago. Like, you're a different person now.
All right, let's look this up real quick because I feel like the timeline is getting all messy. Oh, that was Forsyth, right? Hold it. His storyline, he died in 2023. Yeah, he was Anna's supervisor in the 1980s. Brennan tells Roman Hume that in the 80s, Anna worked on a WSB operation that went sideways. Forsyth was the field agent in charge and screwed up, so the WSB buried it. She had the original missing report, and he was supposed to retrieve the report and eliminate Anna. But then it says the only line about General Sylvanus is that he defected because of after Anna's blown WSB op in the 80s, mentioned in 2024. Okay, so then, yeah, pikemen started way back then because that's what they needed, the $10 million, right? It was pikemen needed the $10 million, not the WSB.
Right.
So then it would have been Sean.
Right.
I'm so confused.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, because his explanation, like, she was like, oh, okay, like, that makes sense. And I was like, that does not make sense to me. You were still doing it for yourself. You wanted to be the head honcho.
But even still, I'm still finding it hard to believe because of Charlotte.
Right.
Like, that's the thing that's making it the most unbelievable, is that he would do that to Charlotte, knowing what the outcome would be if he was found.
Right.
I don't know. This whole thing is a mess.
Right. We'll just have to see how that part of it plays out. If we get more of an explanation as people are interviewing him to make it make sense. But then we see.
Kind of feel like we're not going to, though. I don't know.
I'm having faith here, Shan. Come on.
I know, because then they're like, but I did love you. And they're like, we should have told each other. And then he's like, yeah, I was going to tell you. And
right. She even said we had that moment in time where we supposedly trusted each other completely. And you never told me.
And during that time is when he was planting those emails.
Right.
Because she called him out on it. And he's like, yeah, I did that.
Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, I know, you're evil. We hear the John goes to see Jason, and that's whenever Jason laughs about the Ava stuff. And then they go back and forth, and finally he gives him the phone, and John's like, how long have you had this? And Jason's like, I just got it. Calm down.
Oh, by the way, he waited 50 minutes. He didn't even wait in 2 hours.
Yeah.
The clock was 4:03, and then he gave it to John at 4:53. Come on, Jason.
Yep. I mean, John was pounding on the door. He had to do something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you hear John make the call to go to Valentine's house, and they go and kick the door in, and no one's there. And then you see Anna across the street just like hanging out. Like, I just needed to watch this because that's not suspicious at all. Like,
if they had her using binoculars.
Right. Right.
You know, at least you get the impression that she's far away. Not if they turn around, they're going to see her.
Yep. And they had just talked about how dangerous it would be if they found out that she was the one that tipped him off. And she's like, oh, you know what? They'll never know. I'll just sit in my car 3 cars down from your house.
Yeah. And then when John was talking to Jason, like, he was kind of giving him a lot of guilt trips. He's like, you know, the Jason I used to know was a nice guy, you know, and when is he going to understand Jason legit does not remember being that person?
Right. And he kept trying to talk smack on Sonny and was like, you know, he took your life away. He doesn't care. He only uses people when he can use them. Why are you being loyal to him whenever he ruined your life? And Jason was like, he did not ruin my life. He gave me options for me to decide what I wanted to do with my life when no one else was listening to me and I had no idea who or what I was. So don't be talking down about Sonny. But I don't know where they're going to go with that, because it seems like, you know, John was obsessed with the fact that Sonny had some type of dealings with Pikeman, but now all that's going to go, and he's still just sitting there trying to find stuff on Sonny because of his personal vendetta against Sonny from a million years ago.
Right.
No one's going to turn on
I still don't understand.
Right.
And then Jason immediately goes to the Metro Court and runs into Gio and is like, hey, you played at Brook Lynn and Chase's wedding. You did great. And he's like, you're Jason Morgan. I should treat you like a VIP because Joss said so. And Jason was like, no, just her and her mom do that. Like, seriously, do not do that. I mean, I did like that he kind of questioned, like, wait, why do you know who I am?
Yeah.
But he immediately goes over to Carly and tells her that it's over.
Yep.
You know, they can go back to, well, not even back to, they can figure out what the next step is. But the next step for them was to go to the footbridge and have beer. And seriously, they got nowhere with the conversation. Carly reiterated that she's jealous of any woman that Jason falls in love with because he's only supposed to be in love with her. He shouldn't have done what he did for her. Mm-hmm. How's she ever going to thank him? And he's like, there's never any debt between us. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's like they've talked it to death. Either be together or don't be together, but we just stop talking about it every single time. And she's like, I was jealous of Britt, and then I felt bad because Britt saved Joss, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you could have seen that coming. Like, why are you even bringing that up? You had no idea.
Well, and then she was not, we've all seen, well, if you haven't, Carly and Sam tolerate each other right now, but Carly has never been the biggest fan of Sam, especially when she feels that Sam is mistreating Jason. Mm-hmm. And she did fairly nicely for Carly say, you know, Sam's really giving you a hard time. And Jason's like, do you blame her? I literally died to her twice and left her alone with these kids. You know, he's like, I get it. But then he was just saying, he's like, I don't even know what to do now. And she suggested that he get away from Corinthos Coffee because they don't know what Sonny's doing. And that's where he just kept reiterating, but there's something off. And John seriously has had it out for Sonny for so long. And he has an opening right now because Ava's kind of feeding him, even though Jason just warned him. I don't think John really took that to heart, after in the same conversation is when he found out about Valentin being in Pikeman. So then they still haven't erased Carly's conversation because she had gone to see Brennan, which I don't understand their whole friendship. Like, what's going on there?
Right.
But she basically tells him exactly what the FBI has on her. And he's like, well, you could delete that. And she's like, you're going to tell me how? He's like, no, but it has to be permanent.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Well, and then he did point something out to her, though, he's like, so how's Donna doing playing soccer? It wasn't just, let's bring this back to the kids. It was like, seriously, talk to me about Donna playing soccer, because you're not going to be able to do that if you go to jail. He choked up, though, when he was talking about kids and choices that you made.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be Dex's dad? No, because if he was, Dex would have talked about the fact that his dad was also in some kind of law enforcement.
I was thinking more Gio's dad.
No.
Well, Gio's dad was supposedly in the military and died.
Yeah. I don't want him to be Gio's dad.
I don't want him to be Gio's dad, but that story was kind of just too perfect.
Yeah.
And that, they told it once, and then Lois told it again to Carly this week, and was like, they fell in love. It was a magical whirlwind.
Well,
and
they really expanded it this week, though, too.
Yeah. And she didn't even get to tell him that she was pregnant before he was killed. And then she died whenever he was 10, and blah, 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 blah.
I didn't understand the point of, she said that when Francis died, Sonny was there. That's the only reason why Sonny would have helped?
I think she just meant that he got to see, the devastation at that time. He was in town. It wasn't just, a story of, oh, this cousin of ours, blah, blah, blah. He actually witnessed the devastation.
Did Lois ever... Oh, I did love... Before Carly sat down and had this conversation, and she was like, oh, good, the manager's bringing me a pina colada. And Carly's like, I'm the owner. And then Lois is like, are you going to catch me up on you and Sonny? Or are you going to pretend like it's none of my business? And Carly's like, how about you just accept that it's not?
Right. Exactly.
But at the end of that whole story, she asked Lois why Sonny never talked about Gio.
Mm-hmm.
Did that ever get answered?
No.
Okay. So I wonder why, because I feel like if Sonny supported this kid through so much, he sounds like he stepped in when his dad died, and then even more so when mom died. Don't you think he would have been having them go to the concerts to see him?
Or even just seeing that money come out of their bank account, oh, don't forget to send the tuition check for Gio's school.
I don't think Sonny balances his checkbook like the rest of us.
He does.
Is he standing at the cash register pulling it out?
Yep.
Debit, check number 201.
Yes.
Gio's tuition.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of checks do you think Sonny has?
Just the standard blue.
You think blue?
Yeah.
I would think black.
No. Mm-mm. I'm going standard blue.
Do you think he has the monogram or no?
Yes, absolutely.
No, Sonny has coffee beans.
That would be for his business checks.
Those are his business checks. His business checks are coffee beans. His personal checks are just standard black. Okay. You said blue, I said black.
Can you just send a quick email over to Maurice? Could you answer this question for us?
Mine are beige, so
mine have a cute on them.
But yeah, I mean, I'm with Carly. Why didn't we know about this? There's a few different ways we could go from there.
I think we need to go on to the whole reason that Lois was there was because she was telling Gio that someone that she knows is doing a album, and they want him to fill in for the person that can't make it to the session for, I don't know if she said what reason, but for some reason the original artist original musician was not going to be able to make it. So she wants Gio to go back home and make this album with them. And he says to Joss, why is she trying to get rid of me? Like, what did I do wrong? And Joss is like, what are you talking about? She wants you to go make a album. Like, what?
I did like, because so at first when Lois said, I'm going to talk to the program director for PCU, I understand your scholarship is contingent on you being part of this program. However, this is an amazing opportunity. I mean, that's a professional opportunity, you know?
Right.
At first I was like, you can't change the rules because then everyone's going to have an excuse. But I guess if they say, or equivalent.
Right. It's not like I'm, going off somewhere for a month and not going to be practicing my music or doing anything. Like, this is definitely going to enhance what he brings back to PCU.
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. Yeah, I did think that the conversation with him and Joss, it was a little bit dragged out. Because he seems like a confident kid. So to see him, I mean, I don't know, people, you know what? I am not one to talk with that. So I ever analyze everything and people think that I'm confident. So
I just feel like he should know Lois well enough that if Lois was trying to get you out of somewhere, she'd flat out say, hey, this isn't working out, kid. Sorry, but I found this other opportunity for you that I think is great. So we'll move on to this instead. She wouldn't sugarcoat it.
Right. I do have a major problem with a police officer and a lifeguard deciding that an untrained towel attendant should be responsible for the safety of the people at the pool.
There was no one in the pool at that time.
It doesn't matter. It takes 2 seconds.
I agree. And
I was so mad about that.
It was supposed to just be a 5-second smooch. And then they stood there and had like a whole conversation. And I'm like, I can understand, not that it's right, but I can understand ducking behind something for a real quick smooch, but have your conversation by the pool. You weren't saying anything that you couldn't have talked about by the pool.
Right. Or you go to another lifeguard and ask if you can take a 5-minute break.
It looks like there's only one lifeguard on. So you have to take that up with Carly. She should have 2 at all times.
Is it wrong that I was really waiting for an emergency to happen?
Yes.
No, but that someone could have died. No kiss is worth it.
Someone could have died, but it was all good. It was all good. Nothing bad happened. No. They were already putting a kid in jeopardy by having James take a ride share by himself. So they didn't want to kill anyone at the pool. So Joss got lucky.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I feel like that takes us to a whole separate section, but yeah.
I just wanted to see your face when that was brought up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lois was really sweet though when she was like, when Gio was explaining about how much he loves Port Charles and everything, and she was like, so Tracy is eventually going to start giving you a hard time. It's not an if, it's a when. Make sure that you don't back down. Be nice, but don't back down. And we see that happen later on, where I think we don't want to get to that yet. But all right, so where can we go from there? We've really hit a lot so far.
I don't know what that leads into.
Earlier in the week we saw Jason going to just throw a check under the floor, or under the door, not under the floor.
Under the floor?
I know. And Liz is coming out to take out the garbage and kind of calls him out on it. And she's like, you can come to the house,
Right. You can knock on the door.
Then Jake comes down.
Right.
Jason congratulates him on getting into art school. I loved that whole scene.
I just loved that it was like no pressure. He was just, hey, good job. I'm proud of you, blah, blah, blah. And Jake was not asking for money. He was just realistically being like, yeah, but it's expensive and I have to figure all this out and stuff. But it is, an honor just to be accepted.
Mm-hmm. But when Jason offered the money, and he said, I did like that Jason made a point of saying, this has no strings attached. I know that I have to earn a relationship with you. But when I was your age, I was put in a position to make a decision about my future. And I don't want you to have money or not having the money be the reason why you choose what you do.
Right.
And he wants to know that he's making the right decision. And Jake accepts. Jason said, don't let my failings as a father impact your future.
He just keeps saying so many sexy things lately.
They are doing such a good job of bringing Jason. I feel like we saw him getting here when he left the last time, after having been kind of very, very stoic and just like no personality for a while. But
right.
I'm loving him working on his family. You know, Jake even acknowledges, he's like, yeah, I know that you haven't really had an easy life. He didn't say that he got it. He didn't say like, it's okay, you weren't around. But he said, you know, I really do want to go to art school in Spain, so I will accept. And then he stuck out his hand to shake. And then Jake pulled Jason in for a hug. Yeah. And Jason was ready to cry.
And Liz standing there like the mom, like, I don't want to pressure anyone, but at the same time, oh my gosh.
She only really said one thing. When Jason offered, she was like, isn't that great?
I don't have to put myself in financial ruin if you'll accept this.
Well, Jake did say that he had to figure out loans.
Yes.
So I think that Liz was saying that so that Jake knew that she was okay with it too.
Right.
Not to influence him. Because after that, she said nothing and let Jason have a conversation with his son. And that was sweet. Oh, and then he did tell Carly about that later too. He's like, yeah, Jake's going to go to school. And then that's what prompted and she's like, oh, that stinks. You know, you're just coming back and getting to know him a lot better. And then she said something about, well, at least maybe you'll be able to bridge with Danny too. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's right, Sam. That really doesn't take us anywhere, but I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was perfect.
Yes. They did that very well so that you could see all sides of it without anyone pushing.
Yeah.
And without false promises. Because, that's a lot of money to take from someone. And even if they say no strings, you would feel pressure. So I'm glad that Jason was like, no, listen seriously. It has no strings.
Well, I do think that one of the things that both Liz and Sam have always told the boys is Jason doesn't lie. Like, if Jason says he's going to take care of things, and if he's he does that, he is one of the most loyal and reliable people you will ever meet. Well, no, because he held to his word that he was not going to put the boys in trouble when they were younger.
Right.
I don't think any of them could have possibly. And that's something Sam has to remember, too. She has a little bit to do with.
She never takes responsibility either. She should be best friends with Nina.
Natalia went to say Ava.
Oh, yeah.
Asking what her end game was. Because she's like, I can't figure out what the heck you were doing. And Ava actually did not lie. She's like, I was recording something for work. And I thought that I hit stop when you came. And I guess I didn't. And it just kept recording. And then I realized you're a disgusting jerk. And I thought that the world should know what Blaze's hand. After hearing Ava, I truly do think that she was probably like, no, everyone needs to know why Blaze or what Blaze is going through. You know, what she's having to put up with behind the scenes.
I don't think it was that selfless.
But then, she was also doing it because she thought that it would get Sonny to not want to hang out with Natalia anymore. Right. Whereas it's actually done the opposite.
Yes.
And Ava looked a little concerned. That happened before John, right? Did that happen before John saw Ava?
Maybe.
Because that could have prompted a little bit more of her trying to push him. I can't remember that order.
Yeah, I don't either.
But then Natalia went to see Sonny and she was just waiting for him. And because his guards have seen her before, they decided to let her in.
She didn't even say guard. She said housekeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Like now the housekeeper knows who is at risk and who's not.
Yeah, that was weird. I cannot get over how much they are not putting the blame. I don't understand how Sonny did not at least scream at her for what she said, and how it impacted his daughter.
Right.
You know, both of their daughters.
Right. And she does keep saying, I just don't want this to hurt Blaze or Allison, whatever name she calls her by. And then as an afterthought, it's like, oh, yeah, or Kristina, blah, blah, blah. It's not equal. And I don't know how Sonny's not upset by that.
He said something. He's like, well, you already know my thoughts. And she was like, yeah, and I know Kristina's. And he's like, yeah, you do, because you're a jerk.
Right.
But so she asks him, to help her get Blaze self-funded, I guess.
Right.
And she's like, I did a little bit of research on you and I see that you were an investor for L&B Records back in the 90s, but still has yet to figure out that he's a mob boss, an alleged mob boss.
Right. I was waiting for her to be like, how'd you go from L&B Records to coffee importing?
Right. And then he does say, he's like, nah, I was just an investor. You know, the women who ran it, one of them I was in love with and the other one was a lifelong friend. But I don't really know anything about the music, you know, and I do think that he has been very upfront about that, where that's an investment, you know, like I have investments with companies that I couldn't do what they do. I just give them my money.
Right.
They do the things and I get a little bit money back. Yay. That's how investing works. But so she just wants, and she's like, well, I know how to do it. I just need the money. Like I did like that. She did say, I can put every penny I have in. And it's just not going to be enough. So it did sound like she is also going to be financially contributing to this.
Yes. She wasn't just asking for him to cover everything and her stand there and reap the benefits. Yes.
She did say that she is working on understanding that the girls love each other, even though she's not going to go to a parade anytime soon. It's like this woman just loves having her foot in her mouth. It must taste fantastic.
Oh, man.
Oh, but then he says, yeah, sure, I'll give you money, but Brook Lynn's in charge.
Yep, I loved it. She's like, what? And then Brook Lynn comes over and is like, yeah, so Natalia's like, we'll do this. And Brook Lynn's like, no, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And you have like no control over it and no say so because you already messed this up once. And so I'll handle it. And Natalia does not know what to say. Like, what do you mean? I've done everything. Yep. And you did a great job until you opened your big fat mouth. And now you get to step back.
Well, but that was the thing. She's like, you literally cannot take even an interview. She's like, and you have zero say. Blaze will present herself however Blaze wants to present herself. Because I love her and I'm not going to let you destroy her music career again. But Natalia did say, you know, after the Link Brown incident, she learned that you can only trust yourself, and doing that is what ruined what ruined everything. Mm-hmm. So I guess we saw a tiny bit of growth,
slow and steady.
So then it sounds like they are going to start up their own.
I'm hoping that Brook Lynn's going to Lois and being like, hey, let's redo L&B because I don't know how to do this and you do.
I agree. I definitely think that that's how that's going to go. I do like your idea. I really don't think they named Brook Lynn because they foresaw down the 30 years later that Lois and Brook Lynn would be.
But it would be fun if they did.
But it's still L&B.
Yes.
I still like my idea and I hope that it goes there. I did not see Sonny funding the whole thing.
No.
I did not. But it would be nice if after Natalia leaves, Brook Lynn goes, Uncle Sonny, what the heck?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And he's probably going to be the one that says, seriously, just call your mom. Like, she's got this.
Yeah, exactly.
I still think that there's an opportunity for my whole Ricky Martin storyline to happen.
I agree.
But then we saw Blaze and Kristina went to Nina and asked for basically interview coaching because they're going to have an interview with Perez Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
And Nina called DeWitt down and made him apologize. And then he offered to be the one to share the story of their real story.
How generous of him.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah. I love them giving it back to him. They were like, really? You didn't know what was going to happen? Why would you even run this story if you didn't see it going this way? Like, give us a break.
Well, he did say he didn't even think about it. So yes, he didn't think it would happen, but also he didn't even think about it. All he thought about was how his name was going to get out there. So he didn't really pay any attention to what the actual story was or the damage that it was going to cause.
Mm-hmm.
They better actually show this interview, which I guess then, oh, you know what? In the meantime is when they're going to be working on getting the label and everything set up so they can end with, and by the way, we have a new label.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
You know, I'm not going to let this be the end or whatever. And then they can announce.
Perfect.
There we go. But Nina tells them, like, you guys just need to be yourselves. You're both very articulate, and just let people see you.
Right.
I guess then we could go to James. Is that it?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Oh, Dex went and brought Chase dinner, and they talked about.
Oh yeah,
we kind of touched on this, that and Chase said that he sounded like Gregory in one moment, and Dex was like, "I've never been close to my family. I wouldn't even know if I sound like them or whatever," which is weird because he says he's never been close with his family. But okay, I understand you are not positively emotionally close to abusive people. But if you're getting beat up all the time by your brothers, like, you're close in proximity and you're having negative emotion attached to them.
Right.
So it's not like he's just been abandoned, but I mean, maybe he removed himself and decided to cut the trend. Good for you, Dex. But he says that it feels right being in the police force.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's a Dodgers fan. Like, I didn't mean, ooh, he's a Dodgers fan. I did not mean like, ooh, but it was, Chase said that the hardest part of his job is not being able to talk about his beloved Red Sox. And then Dex was like, ooh, I'm a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think then, Joss and Trina.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure that I got the whole point of that, other than we're trying to show Trina moving forward so that maybe she can get with Gio. But Joss is like, hey, I have a present for you, and gives her the turtle dove or whatever it is. And then Trina's like, oh, yeah, Spencer brought his on the trip. And then they start talking about Spencer, and she says that she feels guilty because she's mad at him for leaving her whenever he promised that he wouldn't. And Joss is like, yeah, I'm not really sure when to talk about him and when not to. So if I talk about him and it makes you sad, just tell me, shut up. And if you want to talk about him, just tell me. So.
Right. I thought that was nice because we've talked about it. We've never really seen them talk about Spencer very much, and Joss shared with her, you're always going to have grief of some kind. It's not always going to be easy, and it's going to change. And sometimes it's going to be beautiful because you'll start to remember all the great things, but you're always going to be grieving the loss of someone that you love that much,
Right.
And then the only other standalone thing was Dante and Laura. So do we want to talk about Dante and Laura standalone, or the James and then the subsequent stories?
I guess Dante and Laura, because it really was just one little snippet of Laura's visiting LuLu and talking to her all about the kids, telling her all about life, and she's like rubbing hand cream into her hand to keep her skin all nice and soft. And then Dante
she apparently gets manicures too.
Very nice. See? And then Dante comes in and kind of listens to part of the conversation, and is then like, hey, Laura, what's going on? And they share like a little moment over Dante saying how LuLu loved the kitchen
floor country music tea parties.
Yes. And he's like, I have to ask you a question. Why the kitchen floor? And she was like, because that was easy cleanup. Like, duh. Kitchen floor, no carpet. So all the stuff that was spilled, you just wipe it down.
Yeah.
And how LuLu talked about them, and that was like one of her favorite things, blah, blah, blah. So that was sweet. And then Dante said he didn't know how much longer he was going to have the kids there to visit because it felt like it really wasn't doing anything good at this point in time.
Well, just Rocco. That's really the only, because he doesn't bring Charlotte. Yeah. And that would be Valentin would bring Charlotte.
Yeah, I guess for a while, remember, because he did have both of them for a while. So he was bringing them both. But yeah, it was Rocco they were talking about.
But he even said, he's like, he knows her more in here than out there. And when I'm sharing stories, it sounds like she's a long lost relative, not his mom. And I really wish he had been like, the woman I love.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. But he told Laura how she's a great mom, and that's why Lulu's a great mom.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
It was really nice to see her hand. Maybe we'll see the rest of her.
I hope so.
Please, 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 please. Yeah. So then I think that just goes to James, because Tracy went to the stables. She couldn't sleep. She saw the light on. So she goes down and talks to Cody. He's like, hey, remember how I told you that, like, I know who my dad is and I wasn't sure how to tell him? She's like, yeah. She's like, he says, well, I told him, and it's Max Scorpio, and he's kind of like really not happy about it. He's not mad that I'm his dad. He's mad that I lied about it.
That I'm his kid.
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
And, he's basically telling Tracy he's never going to want to see me or anything. And I knew it was James just because of the direction that Cody, he was looking down when he was like, what are you doing here?
Right.
So yeah, James took, hold it. Tracy talked about how the air conditioner's keeping her awake and she would just much rather like use fans, and about how lists make her go to sleep, how she would just make lists of the people that wronged her and how she would, be plotting her revenge, I guess. And he's asking about Edward and Lila, and she's like, oh, no. I am definitely my dad's daughter. Like, my mom would open up the air conditioner if it saved one bug. And
right.
She told him that if he does run, that he does not get severance pay, he does not get health insurance, and he does not get a recommendation if he leaves without 30 days notice.
Yep.
And she makes lists of her lists. And I was like, oh, I am Tracy.
I just love that it was her mannerism whenever she said about the air conditioning that he was like, okay, who do you take after? And it's like, yeah, those are those things you swear you're never going to say. And then I know I say it all the time, like, in or out, the air conditioner's on.
Yep. But then he says, or she says, that it's never occurred to her to run, even though she should have run from the altar a few times.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should try it sometime. And she's like, yeah, and you should just try staying.
Right.
So then James showed up because he had heard like the whole, I don't think he overheard everything. I think he just heard them talking.
Right.
And Max said that Grandpa Max said he can't take lessons there anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that just because I feel like that's not Mac. Like, he always put the kids first, no matter who it was and what was going on. He does have a temper and can be a bit of a hothead, but he always puts the kids first. So I could see him saying, like, I'm not taking James to his riding lessons. Someone else will have to do it, or I'm not picking him up, or I'll wait in the driveway and James needs to walk out to me. I'm not, going to visit with anyone. So I could see him putting up like boundaries like that of, I'm not going to allow myself to have to interact with him until I am ready. But I don't see him being like, oh, James loves this guy and loves taking horseback riding lessons, and I'm just going to forbid that he's allowed to do this anymore there.
Right. And it's not like we saw James overhearing Mac telling Maxie, I don't think he should do this. I think we should take him to Two Trees instead, blah, 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 blah. And then we see James at the ranch or the stables.
Right.
So we're to assume that Mac directly told his grandson.
Right. No, you're not allowed. That does not make any sense. So,
but Cody was so kind in his responding. He's like, so I actually hear good things about that place. James is like, I hate it. He's like, have you ever been there? He's like, no. And then Tracy's like, so where's your parents, or where's Maxie? At home. And where's Spinelli? At home. How'd you get here? A ride share. Because he stole Georgie's phone.
Yep.
Made an account. Apparently has access to a credit card too.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Georgie only like 12, 13?
I thought so.
Okay, she's 13.
Either.
At 13, Uber does now have a teen program that they have to be connected to like an adult's account, though. I don't know how it works. I do know, but I just know that they rolled it out.
I would assume that there's a text that's sent to the adult, which means that Maxie or Spinelli should have got a text that said that Georgie was trying to get a ride share and started their, what the heck's going on?
Right. Like, verify. Mm-hmm. Is this okay that your child is going here? So, but then Cody's like, you do know I have to call your mom, right? Like, this isn't a...
Right.
Like,
can't just send you back home. But then they asked him how he got out, and he's like, I climbed out the window. And then when Spinelli and Maxie get there and say something about it, he's like, you're the ones that took the screens out. Like,
yep. And they're like, yeah, that was in case of an emergency. He's like, well, I had to talk to Cody.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was funny when Maxie said, you guys must think we are the worst parents. And Cody's like, I'm not thinking that. And she just looks at Tracy and is like, don't even.
Right. Exactly. So it was cute. I felt for James. Like, he's right. And Maxie, I liked that Maxie would not let James manipulate the conversation. She was like, we are going home. We will talk about this later. I have not decided if you're like grounded for life or what's going to happen. And he's like, but can I still take lessons? So, and she's like, we're not talking about that right now. That'll be decided later. And kind of like left it with that.
But she thanked Cody for not running. And then when they got home, Georgie's laying into James like, don't steal my phone again. This is ridiculous. You know, it's nice to see them have the little bickering sibling relationship. Yes. And Spinelli reminds her that kind of tone is reserved for them.
Right.
To use with the kids. And I thought it was really fair of James saying, he's like, I don't understand. He's like, what happened? Why is everyone mad? You know, Grandpa Mac is telling me that I can't take riding lessons with no reason.
Yeah.
And Maxie says, you know, when Grandpa Mac came back, you know, he got some news that upset him. And so he's not handling it real well. And Georgie jumped to, is he sick like Violet's grandpa?
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, it's just something that he has to deal with. He's fine, but it's just something that he has to work through. And Spinelli's like, I hope you understand, even if you're a little confused. He's like, But they gave him just enough information that a child could handle, especially where it's a very grown-up thing and it's not their place to tell him who Cody is. You know, that's really going to be a Mac and Cody, or probably a Mac decision. You know, right. Cody's really leaving that in his court. But Maxie and Spinelli did kind of agree that maybe we do need to switch stables for a little bit. And then James is quick. He's like, what? I'm going to go back to school soon and the sun goes down at 5:30. So when am I going to ride?
Right.
But then, and how many times does this happen? And little kids, cover your ears. The kid leaves the room and the parents go, dang it, why is he right?
Right.
But then Maxie and Spinelli have a glass of wine and talk about it. And, you know, Spinelli's checking in on her. And she's like, I've lost a sibling already. I'm not losing another one. So Mac has got to get his act together. And Spinelli's like, you know, you're not responsible for what happened with Georgie. But she's like, no, but I can have some control over getting Mac to ease up, you know?
Yes.
And then Sasha came to visit Cody. Did he call her?
Yes. He asked her to come down. And he just happened to be looking at the hat that James likes to borrow. And she was like, you called me down. What's up? And he was like, James took a ride share here. And she was like, oh my God, Maxim must have had a heart attack. And he was like, yeah. And, you know, I just feel bad because I caused this issue and I don't know what to do. I don't want James upset. He's like family. And she's like, he is family. That is your nephew. And so, you know, and she pointed out that Maxie and Spinelli said it was not Mac's decision where he takes riding lessons. So they're not cutting him off entirely forever. They're just trying to figure out how to handle the situation for now.
Yeah, like she's giving the outside. It sounds like they're on your side, but you know, they really can't tell you that they're on your side because that's for dad. Like, yeah. And then we see Tracy, well, after Tracy left the stables before Maxie left. So she walked up to the kitchen and she sees Gio and he's eating a massive sandwich and apparently only an hour after he ate dinner.
Right. And he's not allowed to make his own food.
But he didn't make a mess. Like the kitchen's cleaned. And he's like, I can make you a sandwich if you want to. And she's like, I'll have a cup of tea. And he's like, maybe some chamomile will help you sleep. And she understood that he was genuinely just trying to be helpful and didn't snap back.
Right. And then she said something about it being her house. And he like smugly was like, I heard it was Monica's house. And then
that's right. Because Lois had given him the breakdown. Yep.
Yes. And so then it got them into a sit down conversation about her kind of judging him, saying, you're going to say that the best of everything is in your old town and not be open to anything else. And he was like, no, that's not true. And so they like went back and forth of what's the best concert hall, what's the best gardens, what's the best this, that, baseball teams, and all that kind of stuff. And it was like educated answers he was giving. He wasn't just saying mine's the best.
Yep. So in his opinion, the best concert hall is the Lincoln Center for him personally. And she was like, oh, even over Carnegie? And he was like, yep. And then the best pizza is Luigi's in Brooklyn. Luigi's was one of the ones that the Quartermains ordered from. Obviously, it could be a franchise, but I don't know. And then he's a Mets fan, so Citi Field is his favorite field. And then she's like, I don't know anything about Staten Island. What do you do there? He's like, nobody knows.
Nobody goes there.
And even though Central Park is amazing, he prefers the New York Botanical in the Bronx. And Wave Hill is the best view. It's the best garden specifically, and it's in the Bronx, and it overlooks the Hudson River, and it has the best view of the city. And she tells him about Port Charles has gardens, and that Lila gifted them to the city. And he was like, can you take me there sometime? And she was like, sure.
So cute.
It was
perfectly tied in with our Lila.
It was really, really good. I liked that. And then she told him at some point too, he should be scared of her.
Yes.
And he was kind of like, no, I'm good. Thanks. I think that was really it though.
Yeah,
I liked this week. I felt like it was a well-rounded week.
It was. You got a little bit of everything.
Other than Carly and Jason going round and round about the same thing. If they could never have that conversation again, it would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. They don't even say, like we were discussing before, it's like a whole new conversation, even though it's not.
Right. Exactly.
Reality check.
So what's your reality check?
It was a pretty boring week. Like just like kids and work and that kind of stuff. Nothing too exciting. We did finally celebrate Val and George's birthday.
Yay!
Because we had not done it for her actual birthday because she was in New York. So we've celebrated the birthday, and it was just like a normal family get together or whatever. But I made a point to buy her some under eye cream because when I turned 40, she was very kind and bought me all this anti-aging crap. So since she is now 50, I was like, here, I got you some stuff for dark under eye circles. So that was that. And yeah, I can't think of anything else really. It was just a work and drive kids around week. How about you?
Lots of driving my daughter around. She had her last week of the career experience program that she was in for the past 2 weeks. She and I went to a baby shower yesterday together. So that was fun.
That made me upset. I saw those pictures and she does not look like that cute little girl that I like to keep in my head. Even though I see her every couple weeks at least, she usually is dressed just for like hanging out around the house or whatever. And yesterday she was all done up for that baby shower and you posted pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not that little girl anymore. She looked beautiful. So did you, but I'm used to seeing you down up.
Well, she does those cat eyes for or wing, whatever they're called. I don't. There is a difference, so I'm really bad at identifying which one. But she does those just for hanging out around the house. But you pointed out in the picture that her smile, like she definitely was super relaxed and felt comfortable there. And it was great because she was asking the people at the table some questions and just she was kind of like engaging in conversation. So it was nice. She won one of the diaper raffle prizes, and so she got a body spray. So that was nice. And my friend did come over because she understands. I think it's pretty much anyone, certain smells, whatever. But she came over and asked her, she's like, you let me know if you like the smell. If you don't, we'll go over to the table. And so they went over to the table and she got to pick her own scent. But like something like that, I don't know how to explain it right. There are definitely things that we have to make concessions for in our life, but there are certain things that can be too much and are not necessary. Let's put it that way, that she just has to accept as being a human.
Right.
As being an adult, but something like that, I appreciate that because it could be.
Right.
And then today, I know it hasn't happened yet, so I'll have more information about it, but we are going to an outdoor sound bath. So that should be fun. Yeah, work's really picked up lately. Huh?
It sounds relaxing.
I know. I'm looking forward to it.
Not too humid out.
Oh, it's going to be. Everything that I've read so far, it sounds like a mix of forest bathing and a sound bath. So It'll be like a nice little bit. Oh, and then had a great time with one of her supports people this week. Thank you for being a sounding board.
Oh, of course. Of course. It's just, I'm frustrated for you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. One thing I have literally waited 3 months for an answer about. So I do not think that I'm ridiculous for asking for an update.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, this upcoming week, she doesn't have anything going on. So I'm looking forward to not having to be gone for like 12 hours a day. So yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, join us on Thursday. My gosh, what day? As we talk about Richard Simmons' time on General Hospital.
Have a good week.
And we'll meet at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to peer54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Peer 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at peer54podcast@gmail.com.